Since it's the Snowman in the Morning Super Bowl special, I may as well bring back a very super friend. His name is Mike Lyle, and he joins right now. Mike, how are you?
Brother, it's been a long time coming. How are you doing today on this approaching Super Bowl weekend?
Let's see. There's the Super Bowl. There's the Chiefs. There's the Eagles. There's a ton of football to talk about. It is so great to have you back.
Brother, it's been a long time, but here we are. And of course, why not bring it back when we're about to embark on the busiest sports weekend of the year?
Busiest sports weekend of the year. Man, how busy, and you're in New Orleans. You're taking in all the craziness. So how busy can this sports week get?
Oh man, it is a journalist paradise if you want to be a part of this. It's action galore. I have events to go to tomorrow and on Saturday, the game itself. There's also a tailgate I'm going to on Sunday before the game. So my friend, I wish I could have gotten during the week down there earlier, but I had to work, so I had to kind of split the time in half. But it's just the same. It's great to be here back in the Bayou, and you can feel the energy as soon as you get off the plane. It's like, wow, you're actually here. I'm actually here.
New Orleans knows how to throw a party. And boy, I think this is the 11th Super Bowl that's been hosted in New Orleans, because of course they hosted it at Tulane Stadium, and now you got the Superdome, and that's one of my favorite stadiums that I'm going to go visit. How magnificent is the Superdome?
It's a very nice. I mean, it's old because it was built in the 70s. Of course, it's the home of the New Orleans Saints. It's also the home of the Sugar Bowl, the New Orleans Bowl, high school football. There's a bunch of events that take place in that facility across town. It's well known. It's historic, but it is a very nice venue. Of course, if you remember, during Hurricane Katrina, it was used as a shelter for those who couldn't escape that horrible, horrible weather incident several years ago. So there's some nostalgia behind that as well, but it's still a nice facility. They've done some upgrades to it. I was just there in July for Essence Fest, so I happened to go inside myself to see what it looked like. And yeah, they've done some work in there, and it's obvious why they continue to have the Super Bowl in this city, because they certainly have the venue and the logistics to make it happen.
I mentioned before, the city of New Orleans knows how to throw a party, and they love to throw a party. And this is one of the biggest ones of the year. Talk about what the experience is like from a journalist standpoint once you touch down during Super Bowl week in New Orleans.
You got a lot of colleagues you see on social media that have been talking about being here. You'd always see the pictures and you see the events. It's like, okay, you can't wait to be a part of this yourself. And now that you're here, you can say, okay, finally, now I'm here. I'll probably run into a few colleagues. Maybe we'll touch. It's tough because everybody's on their own timetable. So you hope to see people that you know very well. You hope to run into a few faces and familiar faces. And there's a lot of events you might cross paths with. You don't even know. You might say, hey, I see you there. Oh, hey, I'll see you there. It's like being at a big convention. There's a lot of people that that you're going to run into. You may not have a schedule planned out, but just by walking around and just looking around and doing things, you never know who you're going to run into. And that's what makes this thing even more special. It's like, oh, I caught up with somebody here. Oh, now you're here. Oh, great. So, yeah, it's so much being a journalist, being here, and it's also about making the connections. And it's also about networking too, Brian. Let's face it. Thousands of media are going to be in the city all weekend. You got the entire sports world here. So you can imagine the possibilities and the connections are endless from top to bottom.
Endless connections. I love it. Paint a picture, if you would, for us and for the fans listening to this special of Radio Row in the Crescent City.
Oh, it's amazing. Everybody, people that you know from the national media, the local media, even those who have their own brand are here. It's what you want to be. It's what we get into the business for, Brian. Like I said to you in the past, this is why we became sports media people, because we wanted to be a part of special events like this. You work hard for it, you get the opportunity to be a part of it, and now here you are. And it does take a lot of sacrifice and a lot of hard work to get there. It doesn't happen for a lot of us overnight. For some of us, this is our first time. A lot of people have been here more than once, so that's great. But there's a lot of others that are just here for the very first time in their careers. And who knows what will happen even after this year. But the fact that you're here and you're living it and you're blessed to be a part of it and you're happy that you made that trip and you had the logistics and even the resources, if you will. Because let's face it, There's a lot of money being thrown around this weekend out here in New Orleans. You better believe that. Nothing is pretty much a cheap ticket around here. I think you know that.
Man, there's a ton of money being thrown around New Orleans, and it's all being put into the game. It's being put into all the presentations, being put into Radio Row. I couldn't make it this year because of health concerns, but I had so many people, yourself included, shoot me pictures and that are cheering for me and my family to make it to New Orleans, or make it to Santa Clara, I should say, next year, and Radio Row, and just all the people that you get a chance to network with while you're in New Orleans, especially on Radio Row. All the talent there, man.
Yes, 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 yes. And you'll never know who you'll see. I mean, everybody, like I said, everybody is on their timetable, Brian. So it's kind of hard to always prepare for something like this. I mean, you do talk to people off social media and also maybe even through some certain channels about what they're going to be doing. And like I said, everybody's got their own schedule. I know I got my own schedule now. I got events to go to tomorrow night, Saturday as well as Sunday. And then Monday, the day after, is where I think everybody's going to take a woosah and then finally get to do a little more sightseeing, if you will, the city before we all head back home to our respective destinations on Tuesday. But we don't want to think about that right now because we just got here, so we're gonna just enjoy it and just live it up and just act like it's hey, we're here, so let's just go. Let's get it on.
You've been to New Orleans a few times. I'm a food connoisseur. I got some people that are coming on to talk about food, especially with it being Super Bowl weekend. What are some of the specials food wise that are down in New Orleans waiting for y'all?
Oh, there's one place you have to check out when you come here. Have you been to New Orleans?
I am not.
When you come here, there's this one restaurant downtown called Drago's. They have, in my opinion, the best charbroiled oysters on the planet. Now, a few years ago, I went to a conference where it was a journalism conference in New Orleans, and I got to my first taste of this dish when I was in New Orleans. This is my third time in New Orleans. So every time I come back here, that's like one of the very first places I go to is where is Drago's? I want those charbroiled oysters. They are such a treat. And let me tell you something. I'm not an oyster guy. I don't like oysters the raw kind, but I tell everybody this is the only way I will eat an oyster if it's charbroiled. And Brian, your taste buds will be jumping for joy when you have one of these bad boys. They are delicious.
Oh man, can't wait. Can't wait to try it. Let's get to the football business. You and I have seen with championship weekend now 2 weeks in the past. We've been a part, you and I, as fans of some wonderful championship weekends. You with the Giants, me with the 49ers. Take me through what you saw championship weekend, first between the Redskins and the Eagles, and then between the Bills and the Chiefs.
You call them the Redskins, not the Commanders. Although they're trying to reincarnate that logo a little bit now. I see with the feather in the W logo, so they're trying to do something with that. That first game, Brian, I was quite surprised that the Eagles put up 55 points on Washington. I actually thought that game was going to be a lot closer than it was. I really did. And I thought that maybe Washington, as good as a run as they went on, was going to have a chance to pull off a stunner because you're talking about a quarterback who just flourished during the regular season and became all of a sudden an overnight sensation in Jalen Daniels. And you thought he was going to be the guy who was going to finally be the one that can really stick it to this Eagles team. But unfortunately, they have another quarterback on their side named Jalen Hurts, and they also have a running back by the name of, who I know Giants fans like me do not want to even talk about, but his name is Saquon Barkley. And those two right there were the 1-2 combo. And unfortunately, Washington just could not get themselves going. And I guess as they do in like when March Madness, which is coming up, the Cinderella became the pumpkin overnight for them in Philadelphia.
Yeah, it did. A lot of points on the table were left by Washington, but it's a very bright future in Washington with Jaden Daniels leading them.
It is. And I think they're going to be better than most people expect because as long as they keep that nucleus together, that might be the two teams to watch out for in the NFC East next year. It could be Washington and Philadelphia. Nobody really cares about Dallas because who knows what they're going to do. The Giants, my team, well, we're hoping we can draft Shedeur Sanders because I really want them to draft a quarterback, and I want Shedeur. So we don't know what we're going to look like next year, but I think the division comes down again to Washington and Philadelphia. And as long as Philadelphia still has those two I mentioned, they're going to be the top team. But don't sleep on the Commanders because they can certainly make some noise again next year if they keep it.
How big is Saquon Barkley going to be for the Eagles in the Super Bowl?
I think he's going to have to be, if they can get the run game going with him, that would be a problem. But this Chiefs defense is going to be tested because, yeah, you're going against Saquon wasn't there the first time when they played Philadelphia. Now you got arguably the second most valuable player in the sport right now playing against this Chiefs defense. Kansas City's going to have to really clamp down on Saquon. They're going to have a shot to beat them because I think if Saquon gets loose like he did the last couple of weeks, that could be a problem for Kansas City because Saquon has shown that even some of the more elite defenses he's faced, he can break down easily. And as quick and as strong as he is, it's going to be quite the test to see how Kansas City can respond to that run game for Philadelphia.
And while we're talking about the run game for the Eagles, let's look at the run game for the Kansas City Chiefs as we look at the other side of the ball. Isaiah Pacheco, very good running back. He's going to get the test of his life against this Philadelphia defense.
Well, Philadelphia's defense has been suspect too. I mean, they gave up 20 points against Washington, so they have known to be giving up a lot of big points too. But if he can get loose, that could cause problems for Philadelphia as well. Now, offensively for the Chiefs, besides Pacheco, you got another guy named Travis Kelce, and of course, there's that guy number 15, Patrick Mahomes, who I've said for the last several weeks, you just cannot bet against this guy because every time they find themselves in a situation like against the Bills in the championship where they look like they're about to lose, they always find a way to pull it out. And that's why it's tough to sell against them because they're a veteran team that's been there and they're experienced. They have a veteran coach, veteran players, and they certainly have the talent and they certainly have the personnel to really make a cause for a three-peat. But if Philadelphia can't slow down Pacheco, then that means advantage Kansas City because you know that Mahomes and Kelce are going to go to work.
Let's look at Patrick Mahomes. 7 seasons, 7 AFC championships. I mean, the record is incredible for Patrick Mahomes.
He is this era's Thomas Patrick Brady to many, and it's hard to argue that because look at his successes over the last several years. I mean, he's now got 3 championships. Brady's won 7, but if he gets another one, that now makes him a 4-time champion, and that means he has 4 more cracks. And as long as he's staying healthy, and Mahomes is not showing any signs of weakening anytime soon, so as long as he can stay healthy, not to mention having a good offensive line to protect him, they have a chance. And I just like how he makes plays. He's got that IQ. He can break down defenses. Whenever he scrambles, he's very mobile, as we've seen. That's what makes him such a dangerous player. He can do it all with his feet, with his arms. He can certainly run, and he has the agility that a lot of quarterbacks you see him in, like Lamar Jackson and Daniels and a host of others, even Hurts, that have those abilities to make plays when it looks like that they can't do anything on the passing game, so they'll just use their legs. So that's what Philadelphia defense has to look out for is whether Mahomes starts to run if the pocket closes because he's hard to tackle and bring down as well. So it's going to be quite the challenge. Philadelphia's got 2 running backs now they got to worry about, Pacheco and Mahomes.
Who does Patrick Mahomes, and you and I have watched some great quarterbacks back in the day. Who does Patrick Mahomes remind you of, if it's a single quarterback or if it's a combination?
He reminds me of a little bit of a Brady and also of a Randall Cunningham. You know why? Because Randall Cunningham was one of the very first quarterbacks that started that running game. He was one of those mobile quarterbacks that revolutionized that position in the early 90s. That's how you know we're old school football fans because we remember the days of Randall Cunningham. He was the one that started the running and mobile quarterback position. Long before anybody else came into the league, it was Randall running. So that's why I think he has the old school mindset of a Randall and the IQ of a Brady because combine those 2 elements, that makes you pretty much the total package.
It indeed does make him the total package. You know, we're talking about Patrick Mahomes. You're inside of the Snowman in the Morning Super Bowl special and the Lyle Files with Michael Lyle here. He's in New Orleans, and I know he's up against the wall with time and all kinds of things to do. So let's just go down the list. Or let's just get to the predictions. Let's get to your predictions because we're up against the break. Jody's giving me the cue right now. Let's get to it. Break this game down and give me your prediction.
Oh, I really believe Philadelphia can beat this team, Brian. but I still think the powers that be, and as I just mentioned, they seem to find a way. And I think history is on the Chiefs' side. This will be the first time ever in this era of the Super Bowl that they would be the first three-time champion, the three-peat. And I believe that with history on their side right now, I'm going to go with the Chiefs in the close one here. I think it's probably going to be like it was 2 years ago when it came down to the final possession and the Chiefs got the win with the last second kick. I think that whoever has it last is going to be the team that's going to win it. And if it's the Chiefs, they're going to win. And if it's Philadelphia, they can win. But I really do think that I'm going to put my money on Kansas City and Mahomes to go for the three-peat.
Yeah, I think the three-peat gets done. I think history is made with Kansas City. You can't stop this team. Philadelphia is going to try to stop them, but this could wind up being a 600 or a 700-yard game offensively. But I, too, my money's on the Chiefs also. You never doubt Patrick Mahomes. You just can't bet against him. That's this edition of the Lyle Fouls. You begin hearing them each and every Friday morning on Snowman in the Morning. And, of course, he's here with us from New Orleans for the Super Bowl special. Thanks a lot, my friend. I appreciate you.
Brother, I wish you could be here, but we're going to make sure you're in the next one for next year because you got to be a part of this. But I'm glad to give you a snapshot of what the Bayou looks like. And should be a fun weekend. It should be a great game on Sunday. And I look forward to talking about it after the fact. And we'll see what happens on Sunday. But I do believe that the Chiefs might go for the three-peat.
Then I will say this to you. I will see you next year in the Bay in Santa Clara.
Oh, that's where it's going to be. So we got to be there because that's your backyard. That's where your 49ers play. So we got to make sure you're there next year, man.
We got to. Thank you, brother. I appreciate you, and I love you.
Love you too, man. Stay safe out there and be well.
We continue with more of the Snowman in the Morning Super Bowl special after this.